Well, while we are waiting, perhaps I could ask Margaret, do you mind if we share the program sheet for today under screen sharing? Yeah, so that everyone can have a look at what we will be having today in the afternoon. Now, while we are waiting, this is actually a networking session, well, more of a get-friendly get-together before we start with some serious thinking. So do feel free to switch on your cameras, have conversations right now. Do unmute yourself. It's perfectly okay. However, once we start, we will kindly request everyone to keep yourselves muted. And of course, if you wish to share your video, please go ahead. It's perfectly okay. Margaret, are we ready to share the program sheet?
I've done it in the chat group. Or you want to put it in
on the Zoom, please. Yes, please.
Oh.
Yeah, so that everyone is aware as well.
Okay,
a lot of
sure.
times, some people like myself, we will take a look at the program sheet one time and then we forget about it until we get to the Zoom and are wondering, how do I get into the Zoom room? What do I need to look out for? You see, people like me need those reminders. So once I'm here, I normally would love to read what's happening as well. Because as I mentioned today, we have some fantastic speakers, amazing leaders as well. And every one of us has that leadership potential, has that sense of leadership growth and chart. It's just that we tend to be unsure which path should we take in leadership. And today is the second in a series of speeches of sharing where we talk about different aspects of leadership and how we move forward as leaders in our own right. So do feel free to ask questions. You can do it via the chat, or you can personally send it to our Division G Director, Margaret, who will be moderating the Q&A session later. I must say, I love Patricia's background.
Thank you. I'll invite you home one day for tea
with
your family. Yes.
Oh, I'm sure they would love to. They would love to see who is my inspiration in Toastmasters.
Oh, wow. You're giving me very big inspiration today.
You were the second one who I was very impressed with. Sorry, a second. The first one, the first one I have to say was Anand, Distinguished Toastmaster Anand Ariyaratnam, because
Definitely.
I had joined Nisun East Toastmasters for the first time, and I must say he was the first Toastmaster that really stood out for me in terms of humility and with that strength of leadership. It is very rare you meet people who have so much to offer and then are so humble at the same time. So that was my first time. And then the second time was at a district event where I saw this magnificent lady standing up to speak. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. I think I'm in the right organization, you know? And I listened to her speak and she had this amazing poise, amazing grace. And then the best part was when I spoke to her, I honestly expected her to be very standoffish, very high up there. And yet she treated me like a normal human being. And I was so blessed and happy. And then I thought to myself, maybe because first time she don't know who I am, so she tried to gauge me first, but no. This amazing person actually made an effort, all right, to ensure that I understood whatever process. She was so patient with me. Those of you who know me will know I love to ask 1,001 questions. And I'll poke and poke and poke and poke and poke. And yet she was never flustered. And I went back home that day telling myself, wow, I know I cannot achieve that standard yet, but someday, by just observing her and learning from her, I would. I'm happy to say that I'm maybe about halfway there, still reaching, but she was really one of the greatest inspirations I had. And, to find out how she has grown, I thought at that epic point of leadership that was already there, I didn't realize that you could rise further. And to see Patricia still rising like a star, never burning out. It's like perpetually, the stamina is amazing. And I really hope that someday I can get that stamina to really have not just passion, but that stamina. Passion is so easy, but it's fleeting, isn't it? So Patricia, really my inspiration when it comes to leadership and being a Toastmaster and a human being.
Thank you so much
Yes.
for the introduction already. You have
It's the
already
truth.
introduced me.
This is my
Thank you
personal
so much.
experience.
I hope I live up to that. Yes. Thank
You always have, you always will. I see we have our district director here as well. Looking charming as usual.
She's
I must say,
refreshed.
yes, I must say, I saw a very interesting side of her last week. I had never seen somebody so active, so happy, dancing all over the place. My goodness, the energy level that our district director have, people half her age also cannot make it. I was very inspired, man. I don't know whether she went back home with tired muscles or not, but looking at her, I got tired. Wow, full of bundle of energy. Margaret, I will take the cue from you when we can start, okay?
James, if you don't mind, when the program start, could we remove the program? Will we
yes, of
removing?
course, yes.
Thank you.
Oh,
We will,
definitely,
we
yeah.
will. We just want to make sure that those who have not had a chance to see the program could take a look at it and just go through what we have for today from our very esteemed speakers. So as I said, please feel free to unmute yourself. This is really a time for us to speak, meet, greet. If you wish to show off what you had for lunch, and it's still available, please do show it off. If it's already digested, please don't show it off.
Well, James, in keeping with the theme today, the leaders, luminaries gathered here, let's respect everybody's time and we will start as scheduled.
Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. The time is now 2 o'clock. I would like to welcome each and every one of you here today. Now, this is in collaboration with Division S and Division G. We are doing a leadership incubator program. Now, what does that mean? Well, as I mentioned earlier, can I request that we stay muted now? We have started. Thank you so much. Now, what does that mean, leadership? Leadership is such a big word, isn't it? Many of us have different interpretations of leadership, but essentially, it's the art of motivating a group of people to act towards achieving a common goal. Whether it's a business setting or in a setting like ours in Toastmasters, it can also mean directing people, with a strategy to meet the needs of the organization. And in our case, to be better speakers and definitely better leaders. So without further ado, let me introduce our first speaker for today. Now, she's going to give her opening address. This is Ms. Margaret Low. She is a Strategic Relationship Level 5. She is our current Division G Director, the past president of AIA Toastmasters Club. Now, Margaret, for those of you who don't know, is a financial services consultant with AIA, and she advises her clients on wealth protection and wealth accumulation. So she is somebody you can look forward to. Now, she says she is trusted through generations. Now, I love that. I love that phrase, trusted through generations. I feel the strength of that. And her connection with Toastmaster, while accidental, her resolve to serve is intentional, and I can fully guarantee that. Her motivation is to seek fulfillment by giving back and seeding the new generation. I will give her the platform to speak more about it in her opening address. Let's welcome Division G Director, Strategic Relationship Level 5, Margaret Low. Over to you.
Thank you, distinguished Toastmasters James Clifton. Fabulous afternoon to all. Present and past district officers. Past District Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Patricia Lam. District Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Kathy To, and our fellow Toastmasters. Today, we are gathered here. Seated amongst us are leaders, present leaders, future leaders, fellow Toastmasters. Vince Lombardi says, leaders are not born, they were made. How leaders are made is dependent on the myriad of situations and the people around us. In Toastmasters, it is part of our journey, our discovery journey, to identify and understand our own leadership styles and how it affects people. With the knowledge of the context of situations and skills to drive your team in a strategic direction that you want. You can turn the situation to your advantage. The intent of this series of workshops, the Leadership Incubator, is to seed a generation of leaders, those who has a deep awareness of their own strengths, identify and build a team of influential leaders, and to achieve sustainable drive to carry on this zenith vision for generations to come. Seated here today is this new generation of leaders who forms the epicenter of this change. We believe they are members in your team who has yet to discover themselves. You can help them realize their true potential. Start to build your winning team today. I look forward to a fruitful and fulfilling learning experience for all of us. With that, I declare this session open. I'll hand the time back to the Toastmaster of the day, James Clifton. Over to you. We can't hear you.
As I was saying, thank you so much, Division G Grandmaster Director Margaret. Now, we are going to welcome somebody really special. It's going to be an address by the Toastmasters International Leadership Committee member. Now, this person is a double recipient of TI Presidential Citation, District Toastmaster of the Year in 2011. She was the first District 80 Director to sit on the International Leadership Committee from 2019 to 2021. She is a leader who is the gold standard among leaders, my mentor, my inspiration, and my good friend, Distinguished Toastmaster Patricia Lam. Over to you.
Thank you, wonderful friend James, for that beautiful introduction. And a beautiful afternoon, friends. We're all friends here, I can see. Do you know the benefits of serving as a leader in a non-profit organization like Toastmasters International, where we are all in? Well, today I would like to share some of my thoughts with you. My personal leadership training within Toastmasters started some 20 years ago. People who know me know that my personal tagline is 20 years of fabulous toasting. That shows how much fun I'm having here. When I was still a very young Toastmaster, into my second year, I gave my first speech on leadership. The speech title was Staying Alive, as in staying active in Toastmasters. The message was to empower leaders to stay on, learn from their leadership journey, and to give it back to the organization. In a flash, 20 years passed by so quickly. In this time, I've learned many insightful lessons on leadership in the Toastmasters program. I was grateful for the many opportunities that were given to me to move up the ladder. And I realized I received far more opportunity than most did. I like to believe that in my own small ways, every chance I could, I try to impart my knowledge and skills to other members who are eager to learn. I would say that we have learned together and we have enjoyed these journeys together. That is why I'm still very much active, alive as a leader in Toastmasters. Aside from the many lifelong friends that we make, which is a gift, Toastmasters leadership provides us opportunities to learn to handle the many obstacles we face as we journey through the passage of time. Here, we incorporate a vibrant learning culture, even as we serve. Here, I can safely say I have learned, among others, interpersonal skills, handling conflicts, or leading a team, which I might not have had in my own one-man's entrepreneurship.
Patricia is a TMDE.
Somebody saying something that I need to answer?
No, please go on.
It's okay. Please go ahead, Patricia.
Patricia, you're muted, dear. Sorry.
Am I muted? I'm okay now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, please. Please go
Good.
ahead. Thank you.
Right. Now, from what I learned, a leader in a non-profit organization must provide a social return on investment as opposed to a financial return. What do I mean by this? A social return means enhancing educational opportunities for leaders, which is exactly what we are doing right here. Helping people to stand proudly on their own 2 feet, being independent, shortening their learning curve, much like our mentoring programs. Take a look into your leadership journey. Have you learned something that has helped you make a better decision, a better choice, a better judgment? Help you become a better person, a better friend, a better leader? Help you to better advance in your career? This, my friends, are social returns provided by leading in a non-profit leadership position. Today's Leadership Incubator program is a good example of what we can learn as leaders in a Toastmasters movement. Today, someone organized this marvelous program. Did you enjoy it? Did you benefited from it? So if so, I would like to inspire you to convey this same joy and benefits with you when you interact with other members in the district, so that they could stay alive, active, like you did, and then pass it forward too. That's what leadership in a non-profit organization is about. In closing, I'd like all of us to remember we need more than passion, dedication, and commitment to continue in our leadership positions. As leadership guru John Maxwell says, leaders become great not because of their power, but because of their ability to empower others. If you have this and more, just like the leaders in this room, you are made for leadership in a non-profit organization where there is little to no financial returns, but plentiful, multiple social returns. I wish you all a pleasant afternoon. Thank you. Back to you, James.
Thank you so much, distinguished Toastmaster Patricia Lam, for her ever inspirational and dedicated speech. Let's move on, shall we, to the meat of today. Now, there is leadership on paper, and then there's leadership on the ground. Today, our 2 speakers, they have the credentials and the strength to have done both. And we are here today to share on the aspect of courage and risk. The first speaker is a profound titan of his industry, not just by the accolades or the financial aspects, but also the respect he receives from those around him. Whether it's in the Toastmaster circle or the world of financial planning, the ever reliable and amazing distinguished Toastmaster Eric Tan has always led by example and by thought with positive action and experiences. A former club president, area director, division director, and he's a current Division G council member. His spirit of giving has never ended, and it probably will never stop. That is the kind of character he is. He is here today to share what it means to take the courage to lead. Can we all welcome distinguished Toastmaster Eric the Leader Tan. Eric, over to you.
Thank you very much, James. A very awesome afternoon to Division Director, District Director, past district officers, present district officers, and all my friends in District 80. Thank you all for being here. The fact that you guys are here is not only an encouragement to all of us speakers, but it also a very commendable act, I would say, because you guys are willing to invest your time on a Saturday, precious weekends, to develop yourself. So you should all give yourself a big round of applause. Yay. Okay, now, this is not a contest, so you need not, off your video. You can all turn on your video and show your face, because it's only through this interaction that we are going to have for the next 30 minutes that is going to benefit both you and I as well. I'm honored to be here, and every time I start my presentation, okay, as you guys probably know, I'm not a professional trainer. So I always start with this disclaimer of mine, is the fact that I'm not here to teach. I'm not qualified to teach, but I'm here to share my experience. And in the course of my sharing, if you find there are certain elements that are useful, do keep it, do apply them. Okay. If there are some that you find that it may not be that applicable, feel free to discard, because we only have a certain amount of memory space in our brain. Okay. So only retain what is useful and applicable. And I do not have all the answers, but I will answer to every one of you to the best of my ability. So these are my 3 disclaimers. The agenda in my presentation are as follows. Firstly, when we talk about the courage to lead, we have to understand why courage is essential to lead. And after understanding the why, we have to know, how do we develop that kind of courage? How do we master that courage to lead? And finally, what do we get out of it? You see, it's only fair. This is a real world that we are living in. Every investment that we make, be it in terms of time, in terms of money, in terms of being present, we have to be able to receive something out of it. That makes our investment worthwhile. So this is basically the agenda of my presentation. Now let's talk about fears. Okay, as I said, this is a very interactive sharing segment. So could you guys share with me, what are your fears when it comes to leadership? You can feel free to type it up. Okay, let's work our fingers a bit. You guys are going to be sitting there for the next 2 hours, so let's exercise some muscles. So do type it out and share with me some of the fears. Failing others, fear of failure. Thank you, James. Thank you, Gupta. What else? What are some of the fears that you may have when it comes to leadership? Rejection, over promising, letting others down. Thank you. Yes, the district director mentioned not being able to deliver my promises. Indeed. Don't know how team or other will respond. Suresh said, good, thank you very much. You see, we have all these fears that prevented us to lead. And many of you have hit the nail right on the head. Okay, first and foremost, indeed, we have this fear of failure. What happens if we fail? Especially in the corporate world, you know, we take up a leadership role, and what happens is we don't live up to the expectation. Is our reputation at stake? Will we be looked at differently after that failure? So this is the first fear that many will have when it comes to taking up leadership position. The second one will be conflict. What happens if my team members start to argue or they start to disagree? Do I have it in me to be able to understand the conflict and then resolve them? Do I have it in me to not get overly emotional and to be able to resolve the conflict in a partial manner? This is some of the reasons why we held back, because we are going to lead people. Okay, so when we are going to lead people, every person is unique. There's bound to be conflict. And when there's conflict, how, as a leader, we are going to step in to understand and to resolve. That's very important. The third fear will be pressure, you know, especially nowadays, whereby we are all Zooming when it comes to work, when it comes to meeting with friends, when it comes to home-based learning. Our children are Zooming, we are Zooming, and time just seems to be not enough, you know, especially many of the ladies here probably can relate. You know, I have to juggle my time between work and family. And now if I take on the leadership role, it's like too much for me to juggle. So the pressure is something that we need to face. We need to recognize there's bound to be pressure. How can we not let this pressure put us in a disadvantaged position? Or rather, how could we use this pressure to work in to our advantage? This is something that we need to discuss and think about. Finally, making tough and sometimes unpleasant decisions. You see, when you are a leader, people look up to you. They look up to you for advice. They look up to you for answers. They look up to you for inspiration. And there are certain times whereby because you are in that role, your vision is different from your members who are executing and operating. So what do you do when it comes down to this? There are certain times whereby you need to make tough decisions. There are certain times the decision may seem unpleasant to your members. When that happens, how are you going to overcome that? So there are, of course, many other fears, as many of you have mentioned. Okay, but we recognize that these four are probably what many of us have thought about. That is why when we ask people, especially our members, to take up exco roles, what will be their answer? They will say, "Oh, no time. I've got too much things on my hand. I don't know whether I'm capable of doing." It's simply because of all these fears. Okay, so once we recognize this, we also have to know what is courage. Courage does not equals to being fearless. Okay, courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the assessment that something else is more important than fear. This is said very well by Roosevelt himself, which means to say, I recognize that I may have fear, but I also recognize that there are some things that is more important, that is bigger than me, and I know that I will want to play a part in making it better. Hence, even though I'm afraid, even though I'm not sure of myself, but I'm willing to take a chance. I'm willing to trust that my team will be there for me. So that's why I become a leader. And this applies to me in my profession, and also in Toastmasters. I always believe in this, and I share with a lot of junior members, especially in Toastmaster. There is absolutely no loss to you when you say yes to every commitment that comes your way. I honestly believe in that. A lot of people will say, yeah, but what if I fail? What if I, cannot handle? Well, guess what? Even if you were to fail, the thing here is this: you will gain something very precious, and that is called experience. You can't buy experience. No matter how wealthy you are, you can't buy them. The only way you can get experience is by going through them, going through the motion, and think about it. Just think about it. Recall back when we were young, okay? When we were a baby, we were crawling, and then we started to stand on our feet. We walk a couple of steps, we fall. What do? We got back up. As we got older, we hop onto the bicycle and we try. Okay, from four wheel, we were getting comfortable, and then when we remove two wheels, we start to struggle a bit. And some of us may fall a couple of times. What do? We get back up. Why? Because now we learn something from it. We learn from experience. So that is essentially what courage is all about. All of us have it. It's just whether we are willing to apply them, or we want to let the perceived fear influence and impact us so that we cannot be something that is greater. So that is what we need to understand. The definition of courage is not to be fearless, but knowing that there is fear and we still want to try, we still want to proceed. Courage is essential to lead. Why? Because it builds influence through trust. People look up to you. People are looking at you when times are bad, when their backs are against the wall, and they are looking at you for some guidance. Because you are in this leadership role, you have a voice. Your action speaks louder than words. Most importantly, you have influence because they trust you. So you cannot be fearful in times like this. You need to be able to trust, and trust goes both ways. Meaning to say, I have people who entrust their faith in me. Likewise, I will reciprocate. And that is what courage comes in, where courage comes in, to build influence through trust, to build accountability. Think about it. When there are times we are not perfect, there are times that we will fail. We will mess things up. And we may have some hiccups along the way. Okay. But do we have that courage to say, you know what? Okay, it's okay. Yes, we may have failed this time, but let's learn from this mistake and make sure that in the next time we will do better. This is accountability. So the fact of the matter is, if you don't have that fortitude within you to say that, hey, you know what? I'm not afraid of failure. In fact, failure is a chance for me to learn. I'm not afraid to be put down by certain setbacks. It helps me grow. And so you build accountability. This happens to me when I was a club president in my club. And many of you who have been to my club knows my club has a long culture. AIA Toastmasters Club has a long culture where we need, to have that perfect 10 when it comes to DCP. We need to be perfect when it comes to organizing events. Every event, we make sure that we have the audience, we make sure that everything is perfect or close to perfection. But when I became a president, I start to ask myself, is it that important? What is more important? Because with perfection comes pressure. And when my team members and I feel that pressure, sometimes we may not be able to meet up with that expectation. So what I did was I decided that we need to think about it from another perspective. I told my EXCO members, it says that every event that we do, let's look at it from a learning perspective. Because then you won't feel that much pressure. And when you know that when you are not in a very pressurized environment, you can perform better. So let's look at this from this point of view. And rest assured, if there's anything that goes wrong, or if somebody wants to blame, they can come to me first. So this is my accountability to my members. And I find that it works. And ultimately, 99% of the time, okay, you will find that everything will run smoothly. It will meet your expectation. Builds capacity for conflict. As I mentioned, nobody is perfect. Nobody is a saint. That everybody is different and there's bound to be clashes. Conflict arises because we are unique. As a leader, we need to have that. Okay. I remember a time whereby I have a meeting with my members, with my executive members. In that particular meeting, there were few arguments, that words were being exchanged, But what we do was we listen, we understand, okay, and then finally we resolve. You see, I always use the word understand before we resolve. Because if you cannot understand, all right, how are you going to resolve it? It helps you. And so when you look at these 3 points, just by through these 3 points, you will notice that it's actually not that difficult to instill courage in leadership. Okay, all you have to do is think in a very logical sense. Don't get too emotionally involved when it comes to situation handling, but get emotionally involved when it comes to members, when it comes to interacting with your members. That is the balance that we need. Okay, you don't do it the other way around, because if you do it the other way around, you'll find out you're very stressed, you're very pressured. And of course, taking risk. Sometimes, even in the corporate world, you need to take risks. You need to take a leap of faith. Okay, you never know what's going to happen. Okay, it's actually like driving. Every time I drive, I drive. I used to drive pretty often, but now because of the situation, I'm most of the time at home. But when I drive, and I realized that I made a lot of decisions, and drivers, you probably agree with me. We make a lot of decisions at that split moment where we may not even know what's the outcome. We try to make the best decision that we can do. Sometimes we cannot control. Sometimes other people just want to cut into our lanes and we got to react immediately. So adaptability, adjustment, and advance. This is what we do every day when we are driving. It should be the same as when we are handling situation. So it builds capacity. When we take risk, we need to be able to master that courage to say that, let's try it out. What's the worst thing that can happen? Okay. And this is something is, if you don't have courage, you cannot do it. Most important of all, creativity. You see, what we know back 10 years ago may not be able to apply today. What we know today may not be able to apply 10 years later. Hence, when we look at this, we have to consistently challenge ourselves and the people that we work with to think out of the box. But again, who is going to make that call? It has to be the leader. And the leader has to master that courage, has to have that courage to say that, yeah, let's do it. Let's try. There's no harm trying, because through trying, we know. So that's why all this makes it important to have courage to be instilled into leadership. Okay? And you have to understand, William Wells Brown said it the best. People don't follow titles, they follow courage. If you don't have courage, people don't follow you. Why will I want to listen to you? Why will I want to follow your lead? Think about it in a military point of view, whereby there's war, and then the commander say charge, but he's not the one leading the pack. He's just standing behind. How do you think that makes the soldier feels? Right? So we have to be able to understand the psychology behind this, is that people don't follow titles, they follow courage. Even in the corporate world, yes, you may say that, yeah, he's the boss, we have to follow what they say because we are put in a situation that we cannot argue, because we need the money. But at the end of the day, you will still realize that there are certain things you will still do it your way, because you know what is the right way. Correct? But if the leader has a courage, you will tend to follow his lead, because he gave you a lot of assurance. And that's what we are trying to know and try to understand here. How do we develop courage to lead? This is very important. First of all, write down worst possible outcome. Pen it down. We always have, in my line of business, I always have what we call the T close. or the Ben Franklin close, whereby we write all the pros on the left side of the paper and the cons on the right side of the paper, and then we assess. So I would encourage you to consider doing this. When you are asked to lead, okay, first and foremost, write down what are the worst possible outcome. And then ask yourself, are they really that bad? Is it something that you cannot take it? You know, is it something that you will not be able to handle if such outcomes were to happen? And you assess yourself. If at the end of the day you feel that, yeah, I really cannot handle it, then reject the offer. It's fine. You know, nobody say that you need to be able to lead at all times. No, there are certain situations whereby you feel that, hey, you know what, this just doesn't work on me. But when you list them down, you have a clearer assessment to what's the worst that could happen. Now that you know the worst, it is time to visualize what's the best possible outcome. What's the other end of the spectrum? What's the best possible outcome that could happen out of this? You know, if you take up this leadership role, perhaps you get a upgrade in terms of your pay, you get an upgrade in terms of your lifestyle, you are being respected by a lot of people, your network becomes wider. You see all these best possible outcome, you need to be able to visualize, okay? Because when you are able to visualize and then you act upon them, you can materialize everything that you visualize. So write down the worst possible outcome, and after that, visualize the best possible outcome. Have a balance. And then lean into emotions. When I say lean into emotion, meaning to say that talk to people. You see, you are only able to lead when there are followers, correct? You have people. Talk to them. Communicate with them. I remember when I was a division director, the first thing that I did was, and James could testify, I brought him coffee because I wanted him to be my area director. I brought him coffee and I asked him the question, you know, why do you want to become an area director? How do you think this helps you? And what do you expect from this? What do you hope to get out of this? You see, lean into emotion, understand people first. Because when you understand and you have a clear understanding of your situation, you find that, hey, actually, there's nothing really fearful about being a leader or to lead somebody. Because I understand where everybody is coming from. When you have understanding, there's an element of control. When you have control, you will not be as afraid. You have more courage. You become more courageous to lead, to take up roles, okay? And of course, finally, join Toastmasters. Be a Toastmaster. Because we are an institution where leaders are made. Think about it. Everybody tells me, oh, Toastmasters, I joined Toastmasters to speak better. And then when I look at the tagline of Toastmasters where leaders are made, I'm thinking, how does these two works together? You see? Why do you come into an institute where leaders are made to learn how to speak better? Why? Why don't you go to, you know, those public speaking academy? It is because when you are a leader, your voice matters. You want to communicate. Why do you want to communicate better? Why do you want to speak better? You want people to listen, right? You want an audience. You need a platform, isn't it? If you feel that you want to speak better, but I don't want an audience, I just want to speak better. Why? The fact that you want to speak better, because innately we know that you want to be able to inspire people, to impact people, to influence people. That is really the reason. And essentially those reasons are the reason of being a leader. It's the same. So when you come into this institute where leaders are made, remember, okay, you are here to learn, to develop this courage, And then you'll be able to apply them in the real world, knowing whatever you have done within the Toastmaster circuit, you have gained enough experience to be able to apply them in the real world. And the best part is, over here, we have a positive and supportive environment. Don't you all agree? If you all agree, give me a thumbs up. Yeah, I see a lot of thumbs up. Yes, but essentially, how do we develop this courage? Is basically through practice, through exercise, and to strengthen by daily decisions around what feels right, even though it might feel difficult, and rooted in what drives us as leaders. You see, developing courage is the same as developing your muscles. You go to the gym every day, right? Or rather, you go to the gym maybe 3 times a week, 5 times a week for some. What do? You exercise. You build up your muscles. Is it painful? Yes, trust me, I've been to the gym. Every time I dread going to the gym because during the course of it, it's painful. You work until you have to scream. That's why you go to the gym, you hear a lot of people screaming in pain. Okay? But after that, they feel different. People drag their feet to the gym, but they walk out feeling refreshed. Why? It's because they know that they have achieved something through that training. Courage is the same. The courage to lead is the same. You have to do it every day. It's just like speaking. If you don't do it often, you'll find that you lost that touch. Okay, so do practice, do exercise and strengthen it daily. Finally, we come to this. What are the benefits of being a courageous leader? What are some of the benefits? To me, the benefits are very simple. First, you have a following. And I'm not talking about virtual following, like those influencers where you have 1,000 people, but you don't know who these 1,000 people are. Okay, I'm talking about actual people. People that really respect you, people that really wants to follow you and look up to you for inspiration, for advice, for solutions. And the more people you have that's working with you in a team, you realize that a lot of challenges in life will be able to solve it easier. Why? Because you have a network. If I want, like for example, if I know my English is not good, I have a poor command of the language. So if I ever want to be better or to improve, the first person I look for will be James. I know he has a strong command of the language. James, can you teach me? And I'm sure he will reciprocate. Because this is what we do as a team. And when I say leader, I don't mean I will always be the leader in every situation. There are times whereby he is the leader. There are times whereby another member will be a leader. We will be leaders in different situations. So this is something that we have to understand. The benefit is, you get people who really wants to listen to you and to follow your lead. The second thing is you have a voice, and having a voice is one of the most powerful tool in today's society. When you have a voice, you can make a difference. When you have a voice, you are able to change for the better, change things for the better. When you have a voice, okay, you will be able to get your message across to so many people. And that is why it's the most powerful tool. It's something that a lot of people seek, but not a lot of people will possess. In Toastmasters, however, we all have a voice. We all can be heard because we are all leaders. So think about it. At the end of the day, when you have the courage to lead, it doesn't just benefit yourself. What you're trying to do essentially is you are trying to benefit yourself by benefiting others. That's essentially what leadership is all about. When I see my members grow, my members improve, okay, my members getting better, I recognize that I am also getting better. I am also improving. I'm also advancing. And this is a euphoric kind of a feeling whereby you know we are all progressing. And this is ultimately what we want to achieve. My dear friends, if up to now, okay, up to this point of time, if you forget whatever that I've said, I want you to remember the courage to lead actually is very, very simple. You just have to remember these 4 words. Okay. And these 4 words will definitely, I'm very confident because it helps me a lot. Okay. These 4 words will be able to let you have the courage to lead in any situation. First and foremost, the first word is excellence. Okay. Always dedicate yourself to excellence. Try to strive for excellence. Be very good in something. Okay. Not just yourself be very good. Try to inspire the people around you to dedicate themselves to excellence. Really good. Okay. And when you are able to do that, you will definitely reach a plateau. Okay. You will definitely reach a plateau. Why? Because we don't just want to be good, we want to be better. And how do we get that breakthrough? A lot of people ask, how can I have that breakthrough? What can I do? Well, guess what? All you have to do is to serve. Be of service to others. Share your knowledge. Share your expertise. Help people to get better. When you constantly do that and you consistently do that, you are also getting better. Service is one of the ways for you to be better than excellent. Through servicing, you will learn to respect people, and people will ultimately respect you because you earn their respect. And this is a formidable thing to have. Respect. Respect people, people respect you. Okay? When you are in an environment where there's mutual respect, where it breeds harmony, and that's where you have this integrity. Now, a lot of people say integrity means doing the right thing. Well, guess what? When I Google integrity, I realized that there's a second meaning. And the meaning is a state of being whole and undivided. When you are in a mutually respectful environment, your team will be whole and undivided. And this team could be your family, could be your workplace environment, could even be your social circle. You have this integrity. Why does this 4 word sounds familiar? Oh yeah, they are the core values of Toastmasters. You see, I believe all of you have attended my workshop before, most of you. You notice that my belief never changed. I strongly believe that these core values, okay, is what makes us Toastmasters. Wherever we feel defeated, wherever we feel dejected, wherever we feel, we indecisive when it comes to handling situation. For me, I remember excellence, service, respect, integrity. And that helps me to get through, overcome, and excel in whatever that I do. We are not Toastmasters because we are leaders. We are leaders because we are Toastmasters. So with that, I hope my segment benefited you, and I'm sure the next speaker will be able to give you more insights. Thank you very much, and see you soon. Back to you, James.
Thank you very much, distinguished Toastmaster Eric Tan. Build influence through trust, accountability, have capacity for conflict, take risks, and create a creative work culture. And this only occurs when we follow excellence, serve others, show mutual respect, and keep the structural integrity of the domain around us. I appreciate what distinguished Toastmaster Eric Tan has shared, and I'm sure we have learned lots of things. Before we start off our next segment, we are going to have a photo taking session, and then we will have a short nature break, and we will be back in about 5 to 10 minutes. Maybe we shall ask our this division director, Margaret, how long shall we have our break? Must ask her permission, you know. Is 3 o'clock all right? Or would you like us to come in a bit earlier at 2:55?
We have to resume at 2:55.
All right, the master
Let's
has
keep to the
spoken. We will
time.
be back.
Yep.
Definitely. We'll be back at 2:55. So let's have a quick photo taking session and then run off for our nature break and come back. Kathy, you look very excited for the nature break. Don't worry, me too.
Participants, let's switch on your this camera so that we can take a full view of everyone. Francis, Romania, are you there? Francis, Romania, I do a first one. Okay.
A fast one is a powerful one. Let's do this. Boss,
Oh,
got
your
1, 2, 3.
smile.
Now I took it. I'm going to the page 2 now.
Take already, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, smile. Page 2. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. We will see you in 5 minutes' time. For those of you who do not need the nature break, stay on and have conversations with our trainers and our friends. Wow, so many people need to go nature break. All right.
Well, I'm
So I
here.
want to, sorry,
Thank you
do we
for
want
the
to switch off
wonderful.
the recording first? Or do you want to continue the recording?